Okay, so I've got somebody in the back of the ute with me to have a bit of a yarn. This is John Moor, founder of GrowMoor, and welcome to the back of the ute.
Thank you very much. What a place for an interview.
I know, crazy, hey? So just introduce yourself and what your passion is with regenerative farming and those sorts of things.
Yeah, thanks Tasman. Thanks for having me on the back of the ute here. It's yeah, my journey. I'm South African, but now living in Australia on the east coast here on the Sunshine Coast, and my passion and the reason we're talking today is really regenerative agriculture and all the facets of what that looks like. And for me, it's not just growing things; it's about the family, it's about the business, and it's about the environment, all wrapped in one. And the last 20 odd years have been a journey for me in that space. I've been involved in all of it, one way or the other, good, bad, and ugly. And and I'm now using that experience, or those experiences rather, to share, what people are experiencing for themselves and try and encourage, help, and motivate them to keep going.
So what really triggered me with you was your honesty, because of course you're from South Africa, with the accent, and a dairy farm, and you were surrounded by GM crops at one point.
Yeah, we were. I still have the dairy farm running in South Africa, living here, and 15, maybe 17 odd years ago, whatever it was, we were struggling, trying to stay away from the GM option. And it became increasingly difficult because we had obviously neighbours, and we just physically also couldn't get hold of the non-GM seeds. So we wound up in conflict with friends and neighbours and people who supplied those seeds, because we were trying to push against it, or not push against it. We were just trying not to go with the flow. And yeah, that is difficult. Those are difficult times.
So that was mainly because you'd already sort of looked into the regenerative side of things?
I'd been exposed to it indirectly, I guess, through my experiences, and what I saw I didn't understand, to be quite honest. And I didn't like what I didn't understand, and I also didn't like what I saw.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't going to adopt it as the saving grace and saving the world as a first option.
So tell us more about your business then, GrowMoor.
Yeah, GrowMoor Biological is the actual business name. It came out of the desire to help people. We immigrated to Australia 7 years ago, and for 5 of those 7 years I did nothing except pretend I was retired, and then realised I had a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to help people get on this regenerative path. And what I very quickly found out is that there were a lot of books, blogs, and a few other BSs lying around, and everyone I spoke to were trying something, but not the whole continuum. And they'd read the book and they'd read the blog and they'd seen the Facebook page, but no one was really implementing the whole process with confidence. They were trying bits and pieces, failing, and then saying, "Oh, this doesn't work." And I realized at that point that I had experience across many years of success and failure, and I thought that would be valuable for people to hear. So that's where GrowMoor came out of, and I basically put myself out there as a farm mentor for farmers, and pretty much the phone never stopped ringing since then.
Wow. And it takes a really good holistic look at the whole system, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe it does. The last 2 days, and how I met you was at this conference, and I've spoken yesterday for 2 hours on regenerative agriculture and how we got into it and where I think it's going and how I can help people. And then today I did a whole hour-and-a-half session on succession planning. And I believe the holism of the thing has to be the people first, it has to be the land, and it has to be the business, and probably that order. I find very little comfort in having a great business and a very sad or sick family. So unfortunately, in agriculture, we see very often the opposite. We see very distressed and unhappy families, and I think that translates into distressed and unhappy businesses. So yeah, that's a little bit of my philosophy and where I try and help people.
And so a lot of that is focused on the profit. And there was something else that got me yesterday as well, because you said you linked the 4% and above soil organic matter. Can you go into a bit of that without your slides?
Yeah, I think this is, again, the science behind this is my experience, not necessarily empirical or research science, but in all our cases in South Africa, and I'm starting to experience that more and more in Australia, that when the soil carbon levels, the measurable ones, are below or around about that 4% mark, that's when most of the regenerative multi-species pastures seem to function well. Anything below that, we really struggle to get good, strong, persistent growth out of the full spectrum of the multi-species. And I think that's where the beauty of the multi-species comes in, is because you can use the multi-species, and in every single farm it'll express itself completely differently. Some farms you can put 12 or 15 way mix in there and you'll get only 2 showing up this year, and across the road you'll get the other 2, and in 2 years time you get a completely different result. And that's what frustrates the people, because they want it all to be even. They want it in a package, and it's not that simple when you're dealing with nature.
Yeah, and that's it. I actually planted a multi-species crop and only got canola.
Yeah.
And I was like, but what happened? But obviously that was what was wanting to grow, and whatever, the conditions were right. But what you did mention on your farm was that every 1% over that 4%, your profit margin doubled.
Yeah, that's what we believe. We've got, in the dairy industry in South Africa, and the group I belong to, or the group that we founded, we monitor absolutely everything. And a dairy farm, the beauty of a dairy farm is every day you have milk in the tank, and you have pasture in the paddock, and you get a correlation between the two. Right. Very quick reporting and feedback. So at the end of that year, we added that up, and we believe at some level that the carbon increase was what drove profit. Well, I absolutely believe that. It's not, and the more we drove for carbon and not for profit, the more carbon we got. And with the unintended consequence of that was obviously our profit lifted significantly. And it's somewhere in the region, I believe, of every percent above 4%, our profitability doubled on those properties. And we've got some people in the group whose levels are at 11% carbon, and most of our properties started in the 1%. So it's been a massive growth. And I think you can make more money personally out of the business of farming than the carbon of farming, if that makes any sense. But I think if you drive for carbon, you're going to get carbon. If you drive for profitability and regeneration, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's more focusing it on actually managing your property rather than the carbon side of things.
I think we spoke about it today at some point. It's managing for what you want and not what you don't want.
Yeah.
So I'm a very strong believer in focusing what you want, and that is what you'll get. It's very much similar. The analogy is, I go into many properties and they've got 1% weed, but it's 100% of their problem. Right, and they don't understand that it's only a 1% of their problem. And to try and get them to stop seeing the weeds, which is only 1 in 100 meters, and seeing all the other good stuff, it's a massive challenge. But and that's when they see that, that's that aha moment that, the weed it's just a plant growing where I don't want it, and it's part of the system. That's just one simple analogy of what people focus on and what they get.
Yeah, and it has a knock-on effect through their life as well, I suppose. With
it does, because they get into the seek and kill mode, and they want to. That's all they do. They spend their life chasing the bad stuff, and completely miss the beauty and the good stuff on their property. So quite sad in a way, but it's all the same quite true. And the happy people are the ones who see the 99% and don't worry about the 1%. Yeah.
Thank you so much, John.
Pleasure, thank you very much.
I'm so pleased I've managed to actually get you on the back of my ute, and I know you've got to whiz off now, so well, I look forward to meeting you or bumping into you in the future.
Thank you very much. It's been fun. It's been a fun few days actually, and working with like-minded people is an absolute privilege really, because you don't have to push the wheelbarrow uphill too hard. But having said that, working with people who want to be engaged, who don't have the skill and the information, is just as exciting. So that's what gets me out of bed. Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks very much.